esophagus. So esophagus, what is the esophagus? It is a muscular tube. Okay, it is for the usage of the passage of the food particles from the pharynx to stomach. So the location is the extension is from pharynx to stomach. So length is 25 centimeters. Esophagus is about 25 centimeters in length. Okay, the extension from exactly from where it starts is the lower border of the cricoid cartilage. Okay, the lower border of the cricoid cartilage, it starts and it passes down and it ends at the cardiac end of the stomach at the level of T11. Okay, remember T11. Okay, so what is the course of this is it is descending downwards, right? From the cricoid cartilage, it is going to descend downwards. So how it is descending? In front of the vertebral column. Okay, along just in front of the vertebral column, it is going to be descending downwards to the superior. It is passing through the superior and posterior part of the mediastinum. So remember the course is you have to understand properly. So starts from cricoid cartilage, it descends downward in front of the vertebral column and it passes through the superior and posterior part of the mediastinum. Then it is going to pierce the diaphragm. The piercing of diaphragm is at the level of T10. Okay, and next to T10, the T11, it is going to open into the stomach at the cardiac end. Okay, so this is the course and extension. So then the construction of esophagus is also very important. So it is everyone, I think you know that it is calculated from the incisor teeth. Okay, so 15 centimeters from the incisor teeth, there is a first constriction which is happening because of the crossing of cricopharyngeus muscle. Okay, so 15 centimeter from the incisor teeth is the first constriction, which is by the cricopharyngeus muscle. Okay, cricopharyngeus muscle. Then from the second constriction is from incisor teeth to 22.5 centimeters. Okay, from the incisor teeth, it is 22.5 centimeter, which is the constriction is formed by the crossing of arch of aorta. Crossing of arch of aorta. Okay, then from the incisor teeth, again it is calculated to 27.5 centimeter. It is by the crossing of left bronchus. Okay, crossing of left bronchus. Then at the last constriction is at the 37.5 centimeters. So where it is happening? At the piercing of diaphragm. So four constrictions are there. One is 15 centimeters. Everything is calculated from incisor teeth. First one is from 15 centimeter. Next one is 22.5 centimeter. Next 27.5 centimeter. Next one is 37.5 centimeter. So the first one is by 15 centimeters. It is by cricopharyngeus muscle, and 22.5 centimeters is by arch of aorta. Then 27.5 centimeters it is by the left bronchus, and 37.5 centimeters it is by the diaphragm. Okay, so this is the main important constrictions. Then coming to the arterial supply. So arterial supply, there are three arteries going to be supplying the esophagus. One is the main one is the inferior thyroid artery. Okay, inferior thyroid artery. Then next one is esophageal branch of aorta. Esophageal branch of aorta. The third one is esophageal branch of left gastric artery. Okay, so three arteries are there: inferior thyroid artery, esophageal branch of aorta, esophageal branch of left gastric artery. Okay, then the venous drainage, it is brachiocephalic vein. Remember, brachiocephalic vein, azygos vein, left gastric vein. So three arteries, three veins. And lymph nodes, three group of lymph nodes is there: deep cervical nodes, posterior mediastinal nodes, okay, and left gastric nodes. So three lymphatics, three groups of nodes is there: deep cervical node, posterior mediastinal node, and left gastric nodes. Okay, so this nodes which will be scattered along the path. When it is in the cervical region, it is by the deep cervical nodes. When it is coming to the thorax, it is going to be by the posterior mediastinal node, and when it is entering the diaphragm, it is going to be the left gastric nodes. Okay, then coming to the nerve supply, two nerves are there: recurrent laryngeal nerve, and then next one is the esophageal plexus. Okay, esophageal plexus. So esophagus, It's a narrow muscular tube which is formed between the pharynx and the stomach. So exact extension is from cricoid cartilage. It descends downwards part of mediastinum, and it pierces the diaphragm at the level of T10, and then it is going to open into the stomach at cardiac end at this T11. Constrictions 15 centimeters, cricopharyngeus muscle 22.5 centimeters, aortic arch 27.5 centimeter, left bronchus 37.5 centimeters. It is by diaphragm. Okay, and 3 arteries, 3 veins, 3 lymphatic groups. Inferior thyroid artery, esophageal branch of aorta, esophageal phageal branch of left gastric artery. Then venous drainages, brachiocephalic vein, azygos vein, left gastric vein. And then comes to lymphatic, deep cervical nodes, posterior mediastinal nodes, left gastric nodes. And the nerve supply is recurrent laryngeal nerve, esophageal plexus. Okay, this is about the esophagus. So shall we move on to next? It is trachea. Okay. So again, coming to trachea, same way, trachea also has its own length, diameters, everything. Okay. So talking about trachea, it is a cartilaginous skeleton. Okay, formed by C-shaped rings. So number of rings, how many numbers of rings will be there? There is around 16 to 20 number of rings are present. Okay. And it is present in the lower part of neck. Trachea is present in lower part of neck and in the superior mediastinum. Okay, what is the length of the trachea? 10 to 15 centimeters. Length of the trachea is 10 to 15 centimeters. And the diameter. So diameter we have to see here, it is a hollow structure. So we have to see for the external and also for the internal. Okay, so diameter is externally, the diameter comes to, for males it is 2 centimeter, and for females it is 1.5 centimeter. Okay, for males it is 2 centimeter, and for females it is 1.5 centimeter. And the internal lumen diameter is, at the age of 1 year it will be 3 millimeter. When it comes to adults, it is going to be 12 mm. Okay, 12 mm. So then the extent where it starts at the lower end of the larynx. It starts at the lower end of the larynx and it ends at the T6, lower border of T6. Okay, lower end of larynx it starts and it ends in the lower border of T6. So where it becomes, it is going to bifurcate. At the lower border of T6 vertebra, it is going to bifurcate into right and left principal bronchi. Okay. So this trachea is actually placed lying in the medial plane, lies in the median plane. But when it comes to the lower end, it is going to deviate slightly to the right side. Okay, so it is going to deviate to the right side in the lower end, and it going to run downwards and backwards. Okay, so trachea lies in the median plane, but when it comes to lower end, it is going to deviate slightly to the right side. Okay, so the arterial supply is given by the so inferior thyroid artery. So arterial supply is by inferior thyroid artery. Venous drainage is by left brachiocephalic vein. Okay. Then the lymphatic is pretracheal and paratracheal nodes. Pretracheal and paratracheal nodes. And the nerve supply, vagus and the recurrent laryngeal nerve being the parasympathetic fibers, and the sympathetic is fibers from the middle cervical ganglion. Okay, so trachea is formed by the C-shaped cartilage, which is around 16 to 20 in numbers. It is starting from the lower end of the larynx and to the ends in the lower border of the T6, where it gets bifurcated into right and left principal bronchi. So trachea is going to be lie in the median plane. And when it comes to the lower end, it is going to slightly deviate to right side. And the length of the trachea is 10 to 15 centimeters. Diameter externally, it is 2 centimeters in males and 1.5 centimeters in females. So then internal, the lumen diameter is At 1 year, it is being the 3 millimeter. When it becomes in the adult, it is 12 millimeter. So arterial supply is by inferior thyroid arteries. Venous drainage is by left brachiocephalic vein. So lymphatics will be pretracheal and the paratracheal nodes. Nerve supply, it is parasympathetic fibers will be from vagi, that is vagus nerve, and the recurrent laryngeal nerve. And the sympathetic is fibers from middle cervical ganglion. Okay, so this is about the trachea. So once we see trachea, we'll go to lungs. Okay. So lungs is conical in shape. Lungs is conical in shape. Okay, it is a pair of organ which is involved in the respiration. Okay, so which is conical in shape, and the weight, that is okay, length is 24 to 27 centimeters in length. Okay, the length of the lungs is 24 to 27 centimeters based on the inspiration and expiration. Okay, so then comes weight of the lungs is, the left lung is going to be 400 to 500 grams, approximately 400 to 500 grams, and the right lung is 500 to 600 grams. Okay, so see, the lung from the right lung is going to have 3 lobes, and the left lung is going to have 2 lobes. Okay, so the apex of the lung is going to enter into the root of neck, which is going to protrude above the first rib. Okay, so it's going to protrude, the apex of the lung is going to protrude above the first rib and going to enter into the root of neck. Okay, so it is a conical in shape, so it is having apex and base. This apex is blunt. Okay, the apex is blunt and going to enter the root of neck just above the first rib. Okay, and the base is concave in structure. Okay, base is concave in structure and going to lie upon the diaphragm. Okay, whereas the capacity of the lungs is 250 ml at birth. Okay, and while in the adult we are seeing it is 6000 ml in adult. Okay, so coming to external features, as we saw about the apex and base, we have discussed the surfaces. There are 3 surfaces is there. So coastal, mediastinal, and diaphragmatic surface. Okay, surface, you know, coastal is which is going to be having the connection to the in contact with the ribs. Okay, and the mediastinal is going to have the connection to the mediastinum, which is near to the, which is in between the 2 lungs. Okay, and then the diaphragmatic is the seen in the base of the lungs, which is going to be supported on the, placed on the diaphragm. And borders, there are 3 borders. There is anterior, inferior, and posterior. Borders, 3 borders. Surface is 3, borders are 3. So remember, surface is 3, coastal, mediastinal, diaphragmatic. Borders 3, anterior, inferior, and posterior. And this lungs, where we see discussed previously, right lung is going to have 3 lobes and left lung is going to have 2 lobes. Okay, which is formed by the fissures. Okay, so fissures, 2 fissures, only 2 types of fissures are there. One is oblique and the other one is the horizontal. So from the word only we can know oblique is going to be in the oblique direction and horizontal is going to be in the horizontal plane. So right lung is having 2 fissures. Remember, right lung is having 2 fissures, which is making the 3 lobe, and left lung is having only 1 fissure, that is oblique fissure, which is going to make the lungs into, left lung into 2 lobes. Okay. So then coming to the root of lungs. Okay, root of lungs is there is a slight difference in right and left. Okay, so the right lung, there is a 2 entry point for the bronchus, whereas in the left lung there is only 1 entry point for the bronchus. Okay, so from up to down, that is from superior to inferior, if you are seeing the root in the right lung, remember in the right lung superior to inferior, so epiarterial bronchus. Okay, epiarterial, epiarterial bronchus. That is the first one. Then comes followed by that, it is going to be pulmonary artery. Then hyperarterial. See, hyperarterial, hyperarterial bronchus. And the fourth one is pulmonary vein. Okay, so epiarterial bronchus, pulmonary artery, hyperarterial bronchus, pulmonary vein. This is the four openings which is forming the root of right lung. Okay, four structures that is going to form the root of right lung. Whereas in the left lung, there is only three structures. That is pulmonary artery is the first one, then comes the bronchus, and then comes the pulmonary vein. Okay, so here there is no only single opening for the bronchus. Whereas in the right side, there is two opening for the bronchus. Okay. So then the blood supply. So the arterial supply is by the bronchial artery. So arterial supply is from bronchial artery, which is a direct branch of descending aorta. Okay. So the venous drainage is by the bronchial vein. So this bronchial vein, right and left bronchial veins are going to be draining into the right bronchial vein is going to drain into azygos vein, and the left bronchial vein is going to drain into accessory hemiazygos vein. Okay. So right is going to drain into azygos vein and left is going to drain into accessory hemiazygos vein. Okay. So this is about the blood supply. Then the nerve supply is there is vagus nerve, and primarily there is parasympathetic, sympathetic, and visceral. So here in lungs there is parasympathetic, sympathetic, and visceral. So this parasympathetic is the vagus nerve. Parasympathetic is vagus nerve, and the sympathetic is sympathetic trunk. Okay, it's going to be the sympathetic role, and the visceral is so nothing but it is the sensory ganglion of the vagus nerve, which is going to transfer only the pain impulses. Okay, pain impulses to the sensory ganglion of the vagus nerve. Okay, so this is about the lungs. So then moving to heart. Okay, so the heart is the primary structure which is involved in the pumping of blood for the circulation. Okay, the size of the heart is calculated by the fist. Okay, each person's fist is the size of the heart. Okay, the shape will be conical shape, that is cone shaped. So cone shape, whereas in lungs also cone is there, so apex and base is there. So here also cone shape, it is having apex and base. Okay, it's a hollow structure, hollow organ. Okay, hollow organ is cone shape, there is apex and base. So the apex is pointed towards the left hip. Remember, the apex is pointed towards the left hip, which is resting on the diaphragm. Where exactly the apex is placed? It is in the fifth intercostal space. The apex is placed in the fifth intercostal space. Okay, whereas the base is going to point towards the right shoulder. Okay, pointed towards the right shoulder, the base, which is below the second rib, just below the second rib. Okay. See, which part of the heart is known as the base is the posterior superior aspect of the heart. The posterior superior aspect of the heart is known as the base. Okay, which is going to placed below the second rib and facing towards the right shoulder. So apex is pointed towards the left hip. Okay, and resting on the diaphragm at the level of fifth intercostal space. So don't forget, apex is fifth intercostal space and base is second rib. Okay, below the second rib. Then what is the weight of the heart? It is less than 500 grams. The heart is less than 500 grams. That is around 1 pound, no, less than 1 pound. That is 450 grams to 500 grams. Okay. And the location, where exactly it is located, exact location is in the inferior mediastinum, which is both the sides. It is placed with the lungs. Okay. And the extent we saw, it is in the second rib to first intercostal space. Okay. Then comes the pericardium. So there are pericardium. What is pericardium? It is a double-walled sac which is enclosing the heart. So the outer, which is also considered as the outermost layer of the heart. So two types of pericardium is there. fibrous and serous pericardia. So fibrous pericardium is loosely fitted in the superficial part, okay, which is a superficial part which is loosely fitted, which is going to protect the heart and also which is anchoring to the diaphragm and sternum. Okay, this with the help of fibrous pericardium, the heart is placed in a proper position with a which is going to attach to sternum and the diaphragm. Okay, then comes the serous pericardium, which is just deeper to the fibrous pericardium, which is also the lining of the interior, that is inside of the fibrous pericardium. Okay, so pericardium, heart is enclosed with the double-walled sac, that is known as pericardium, outermost layer of the heart, and two types of pericardiums are fibrous and serous. Fibrous is loosely fitted superficial part, which is going to protect the heart, also to anchor the heart to diaphragm and sternum. Then whereas serous pericardium is just deep to the fibrous pericardium, so which is going to be lining the interior of the fibrous pericardium. Okay. Then layers. What are the layers is there in the heart? So there is epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium. So the epicardium is the outermost, just inside the pericardium. Okay, don't consider the pericardium in the layers. Okay, which is pericardium is considered as the outermost layer of the heart, whereas but it is not involved in the muscles. Okay, entire structure. Okay, just the covering. So when it coming to the exact heart inside the pericardium, we are having three: epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium. So the epicardium is outermost, which is the part of the heart wall, which is also part of heart wall. Myocardium is just the exact cardiac muscle. Okay, it's formed with bundles of cardiac muscles, which is involved only in the contraction and relaxation. Okay, and the endocardium, which is the innermost layer of the heart, which is the present in, we can see inside the chambers, all the four chambers, we can see the endocardium, and also the valves, all those things are made up of the endocardium. Okay, and the coming to the chambers, what are the chambers is there? Right and left atria and right and left ventricles. So the right and left atrium is going to receive blood. Atrium is always receiving blood, and ventricle is always pumping the blood outside. Okay, so the receiving area is, there is no much bulk of the muscles. Why? There is no a great strain for the pumping process. Okay, just receiving, the right and left atrium is going to receive, constantly receive the blood. So it is smaller in smaller when compared to the ventricles. So right and left ventricles is going to pump and propel the blood into the circulation. So they are little more larger. Okay. So septums. There are two types of septum is there: interventricular septum and the interatrial septum. So between the ventricle there is a septum which is known as interventricular septum, and between the atrium there is a septum which is known as interatrial septum. And coming to the valves, so there are four valves are there. So these four valves, all the four valves are unidirectional. Okay, they only send the blood only in one direction. Okay, so four valves, unidirectional valves are there. So what are the four valves? Atrioventricular valve, bicuspid valve, tricuspid valve, semilunar valve. Okay, so the atrioventricular valve, bicuspid valve is also known as mitral valve, which is seen in the left side. Okay, bicuspid valve is seen in the left side, and tricuspid valve is seen in right side. So what is these all the atrioventricular valve, bicuspid valve, tricuspid valve are going to be inside the, is going to protect the flow inside the heart. Okay, only the semilunar valve is going to guard the blood from pumping outside, going outside the heart. Okay, so which is nothing but the so two types of it is again semilunar valve is going to divide into two. That is, one is pulmonary semilunar valve, and the next one is the aortic semilunar valve. Okay, so pulmonary and aortic semilunar valves are there. So what are the greater vessels involved in this heart? There are superior and inferior vena cava, which is bringing the blood to the heart. Okay, superior and inferior vena cava brings the blood from the body to the heart. Pulmonary artery, which is taking the blood to the lungs. Okay, pulmonary artery is going to take the blood to the lungs, and pulmonary vein is going to carry back to the lungs, and the aorta is going to pump the blood into the systemic circulation. Okay, so even though the heart is filled with blood, there is no supply. Uh, they won't suck any blood for their own circulation. Okay, other than that, there is separate cardiac circulation is happening inside the outside the heart. Okay, that is the coronary artery is involved. So the coronary artery is the one which is going to supply the heart muscles. Okay, so where it is present along the atrioventricular groove, that is known as also known as coronary sulcus. Okay, along the atrioventricular groove, also known as coronary sulcus. Okay, and the vein, cardiac vein is there, which is going to drain into the coronary sinus. Okay, so this is about the heart. I have to know the basics this much about the heart.